A ruthless desire for money and power. Tomorrow on BBC2, the true story of New York socialite Leona Helmsley is at 2:15.
Welcome back to weekday afternoons on BBC2. There's nostalgia with a difference.
Today's the day, every weekday on BBC2.
Then,
ready,
two cooks
Steady,
with too little time.
Cook! I'm Oprah, this is BBC2.
Talk that's too gripping to ignore. Oprah or Esther from 5. Weekday afternoons are back on BBC2.
Until doctors pioneered something new.
The staff, instead of being jailers, they were seen as their friends.
Pioneers, unlocking the asylum. Monday, 9:30, BBC2.
In 5 minutes, BBC2 goes back in time with Today's the Day. Before that, a summary of the news with Andrew Harvey.
Good afternoon. American aircraft have begun enforcing the extended air exclusion zone in southern Iraq. It comes only hours after the second missile attack on Iraq in 2 days. The latest American attack has prompted criticism from a number of countries. Russia's warned that it could unleash catastrophic consequences.
A diplomatic war with Western allies will have been the last thing America wanted. But as the Russian foreign minister met his German counterpart, it was clear the airstrikes were provoking strong criticism. Yevgeny Primakov said Bill Clinton's action against Iraq was a pre-election ploy, and he condemned America for failing to seek United Nations approval prior to the strikes. The United Nations Security Council will meet again in a few hours' time to discuss the situation. Here, critics warned America that its aggression might backfire.
The more Saddam Hussein is attacked, the more support he gets from his own people. And now, of course, he's getting a large amount of support from the rest of the Muslim world.
But John Major gave the United States his wholehearted backing.
I think the United States were entirely right to act as they did. They have my full support, and I believe they deserve the support of other countries as well.
Despite Britain's firm backing, the European Union has postponed issuing a joint statement on the American attacks, underlining division between the member states.
force in circumstances like this is not necessarily the best way of resolving the difficulty.
But as anti-American demonstrations in Iraq today showed, the attacks have done nothing to loosen Saddam's grip on the country.
Here, the Labour leader Tony Blair has told a meeting of business leaders that they have nothing to fear from a Labour government. Launching his party's new business prospectus, Mr Blair promised there would be no return to high taxes and said his long-term goal was a starting rate of 10 pence in the pound. Within the past half hour, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has held his first meeting with the Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. It took place at a crossing on the edge of the Gaza Strip. It's hoped the meeting will help revive the stalled Middle East peace process. The Postal Workers Union has put off until next week a decision on whether to call more strikes. Any further action could trigger a 3-month suspension of the Post Office letters monopoly. The Communication Workers Union said it would use the delay to review tactics in its dispute, which has seen 8 24-hour strikes during the summer. That's all for now. The next news is the 6 o'clock news on BBC One.
Good afternoon from the Spotlight News Desk. South West farmers are in London demanding emergency powers to burn cattle in open fields. They're calling on the National Farmers Union to put pressure on the government to clear the current backlog of carcasses from the BSE cull. The farmers claim the slaughter scheme is now in absolute chaos. The Ministry of Agriculture says it'll give the proposals all due consideration. The skipper of the historic sailing ship the Maria Assumpta is appearing before magistrates in Bodmin today. 55-year-old Mark Litchfield from Maidstone in Kent is charged with the manslaughter of 3 crew who were on the vessel when she sank on rocks near Padstow last year. A row's broken out over plans to contract out the culling of deer in woods on the edge of Exmoor. Villagers are worried about the safety of walking through the woods near Brayford, and they believe the cull is needless anyway. That's it from us for the moment. Don't forget Spotlight over on BBC One at 6:30. See you then.
Good afternoon to you. Well, once again, it's taking most of the day for the cloud to break up and the sun shine through in many parts of the country. It's still rather overcast, it must be said, but abundant sunshine, clear to see across parts of Scotland and down into Cumbria, through Wales and across some southern counties of England too. That's the way it's going to stay really for the rest of today. Still some thick cloud about, still the odd patch of drizzle drifting in through the West Country, but more particularly down these eastern coasts of Scotland and England. More drizzle to come tonight, but really quite small amounts. Rather a chillier night actually at 11 to 13 degrees. And then tomorrow, starting off pretty cloudy in many areas, still the odd pocket of drizzle, certainly very misty up on the higher ground. A little bit of sunshine gleaming through already out in the west, and we should find that skies brighten up in a number of places once we get through to the middle part of the afternoon, with some warm sunshine eventually getting through. That's it from me.
We have all the time in the world, time enough for life to unfold all the precious things love has in store.
Stopping first at Crewe to pick up Victoria Wood. The Great Railway Journeys Express departs tonight at 9:30 on BBC2.
Time is of the essence in half an hour when two top chefs join Firm Britain for Ready Steady Cook. Before that, BBC2 makes a date with Martin Lewis.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Wednesday, the 4th of September, a red letter day for BBC News, because today's the day in 1955 Kenneth Kendall became the very first newsreader to appear in vision on British television. He read a 3.5-minute bulletin which included stories about peace talks in the Middle East, what's new, the TUC at Stockport, and Britain's Jeff Duke winning the World 500cc Motorcycle Championship. Little did Kenneth know what he was starting. And now here are some more headlines, our preview of today's classic clips.
Right, as sheer economics, I had to make a living some way, and I didn't want to do it by stealing. So, well, I became a dancer.
It's the latest fillip to the ballroom business. So all you mud bods and birds, get with it.
Each contestant was allowed 5 dives, 2 cannonballs and 3 belly flops. They were marked on the degree of difficulty, the artistry and the amount of water displaced.
Let's meet today's contestants. And first we welcome back Steve Connolly, a storeman, and his mother Pat, a boarding kennel owner. Both of them are from Ossett in West Yorkshire, and their opponents are John Owen from Great Sutton in South Wirral and his son Gareth, a land buyer from Upton by Chester in Cheshire. Splendid to have you back, and whoever wins the first part of today's contest will meet our reigning champions, Lynn Chapman and Shirley Frenchman, in the second part of the programme. All of them playing for that trip on Concorde at the end of the series. So, straight on with the game. Round 1, as you know by now, is Stop the Clip. Fingers on buzzers, buzz when you think you can answer the question about the clip, and the sooner you buzz, of course, the more points you get. And we start with a report from today in 1989. What is this story? Start the clip.
It's certainly sought to be controversial in the past, and we don't object to controversy in itself, but it's possible to provoke controversy without causing widespread offence and distress.
It's an everyday occurrence, so what does it matter if there's blood or anything on it? That's life, isn't it?
But if the company's aim was to get it shut...
Stephen, Pat?
It's an advert by Benetton, which there was blood on the poster.
You're not quite there, but I think you're far enough for me to give it to you. It was a report in the day in 1989 about the controversy over Benetton's newborn baby advertising posters, and they were later removed on the orders of the Advertising Standards Authority. Well, now a report from today in 1990. We all know who this chap is, but what's he talking about? Start the clip.
Leaving some fantastic supporters who were there. It was fantastic. And after the game, I got back to...
John and Gareth?
Was it Paul Gascoigne leaving Lazio to come back to play his football with Rangers?
No, restart the clip.
And everyone was given, like, towels to dry themselves and that, and I was given a couple of Pampers.
Stephen, Pat?
Is he leaving Tottenham to go play in Italy?
No, restart the clip. John and Gareth?
Is it Paul Gascoigne leaving Newcastle? To
No,
go to Tottenham?
no, restart the clip.
That wasn't a dummy. Cheers, lads. Brilliant.
Stephen, Pat?
Is it after the 1990 World Cup when the team were welcomed home?
No, and there is no more of the clip left. John and Gareth, do you want to have a final go?
Was it Paul Gascoigne's first child?
No, I'm going to have to tell you. Paul Gascoigne talking today in 1990 about the moment he cried after receiving his second yellow card in the World Cup semi-finals in Italy, which would have meant that had England got through to the final, he wouldn't have been allowed to play.
I bet he was crying.
So, well, I mean, hold back your tears for not getting that, and take a look at this report from today in 1964. What is this story about? Start the clip.
When the Sunday Times showed that it could be done, we realized that there was an opportunity for us too.